Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of council for June 23rd, 2026. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. And I'd like to call on Councillor Doornbos for the land acknowledgement, please.
Yes, I would like to acknowledge that the rural municipality of St. Andrews is located on Treaty 1 territory. The traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis. We respect the spirit and intent of treaties and treaty making and remain committed to working in partnership with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people in the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and collaboration.
Thank you. Item 3, adoption of agenda. Be resolved. Councillor Slyker.
I have a comment I would like to make before we open up the meeting. I just want to say to all the taxpayers that there's been some questions as to why I wasn't at the June 11th open house in South St. Andrews. As you all are aware, on June the 10th, the RM of St. Andrews declared a state of emergency for a good
Excuse me,
half of our.
Councillor Slyker, point of order. This can be under new business if you want.
No, I like it now. Thank
If
you very much.
council decides to allow you to.
You did this last meeting, Mayor Sue.
I'm
I'm following
here.
your lead,
I am the chair.
and I'm a counselor, so I get
Yes.
to have my say.
Well, I am the chair. We will move this under new business if council will allow it, because you should have advised ahead of time. If
Well,
this
you didn't
wasn't-
advise ahead of time last meeting, Mayor, so I'm following your lead, and you had a page and a half speech. I have 1 more minute to go. So please don't interrupt me.
Does
I just
council
want
wish
them
to-
to.
Excuse me, I
Perhaps.
think we're kind of on the roll.
Yes, we are. This is completely not acceptable, Councillor Slyker. Is Councillor, are you okay with her making a statement without any announcement or making it as not in addition to the agenda?
I would be fine if you want to add it to the agenda. I'm uncertain what this is all about, but.
Well, exactly. This is not the time or the place. We're doing the adoption of the agenda.
I would like to speak to the taxpayers, Mayor, so for 1 more moment, please.
Well, then perhaps you can take it out of paper, you can go on your Facebook page.
So I'm gonna follow your lead, is what you did last meeting. So that's where I'm following the process from. Because before you started the meeting, you had a page and a half.
You are a counselor. I was elected as mayor, spokesperson for the RM, and I'm chair of the meeting.
Well, we're all equal,
So
so
we-
all men voted to be here.
No,
I think this is an agenda.
this is completely unacceptable. We'll go with the adoption of the agenda. Be it resolved that council adopt the agenda as amended with the addition of the following items. Council report 7.1, Councillor Mondor written report addendum. Correspondence for information, item 11.3, Red River North Tourism, financial statements 2025, which is an addendum. And under new business, 13.6, recognition of Constable Paul Cuman, addendum, and 13.7, state of local emergency steps as an addendum. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Hunt.
Are you adding 13.8? What you're gonna say?
Yeah, I would like to. Thank you, Councilor.
Well, it appears this is pre-planned. Is the rest of the council
I know nothing about it.
acceptable to this?
I know nothing about it, so obviously she has something to say.
Well, usually if you have a planned item to put on, I think there's 72 hours is
It's
the
required.
is the rule to put it on. If not, you have to ask council at the start for amendment. I don't think comparing what you're doing to what the mayor is doing last meeting as the chair of the meeting are the same thing.
Can I add it as an amendment?
Well, don't ask me. I'm not the chair.
For your vote, yes, or
Well,
no?
I'm just telling you the rules.
I think it is the same thing because you chastise us for
There's no chastisement
whatever,
on my.
for the Mount
Well,
Law
there-
issue.
Everybody is not equal. There's a chair and then there's the council. So a statement, we're all equal. I can do this. The mayor is the chair of the meeting. And as the chair of the meeting, she was carrying out rules to how the meeting should operate. Because she felt that the meetings needed to come back to order. For this would be an amendment to the meeting or a request to the mayor 72 hours ahead of time to put this on the meeting.
I would like to ask. that
And
if
that's
you-
in well, there's no 72 hours notice.
No,
That's
If it's
clearly
approved by
in the
council,
bylaw.
if it's approved by council,
Yeah.
so, okay, so I'm okay with that, and then if it's.
So who's in favor of, we'll take a vote, who's in favor of adding this to the
What
agenda?
are we adding though?
just what I want to say. Just a quick statement. About why I didn't attend.
Should we add it for next meeting?
No, I'd like to say.
Well, it's gonna be another verbal attack on the mayor as.
No,
of
it's not,
the
Mayor
26th.
Sewell, so please stop assuming things that are not correct. I am not going to say one word about you. It is about me. Just me.
Well, to me, that does not fall under a council meeting. If each member, we never get through meetings, if each member had his personal statement to make to residents.
Does anyone else care to vote if I could have it?
That would be a question of the chair. Is anyone else in favor of adding this on as an thing?
I'm okay with it. I was one of the movers. Someone said, yeah, it is. So.
Well. Councillor Mondor,
No, I wasn't allowed to speak at a meeting quite some time ago, so I don't think,
Councillor Slyker.
I'm sorry, no.
Deputy Mayor Maraki.
I'd like to see it put on the agenda, you can put something on the agenda. So we can put it on.
Thank you. Okay, we will, well, thank you. So we had Councillor, then we had Councillor Hunt, seconded by Councillor Doornbos, all those in favor. Unanimous, that is carried. Adoption of minutes. Be it resolved that council adopt the June 9th, 2026 council meeting minutes as presented. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Mondor, seconded. Councillor Doornbos. Any errors or omission? I just have an amendment. At the end, I'm sorry, I never took the number down. The resolutions from in camera that Mayor Sewell did not vote. If the record could show that, please. All those in favor? Unanimous, that's carried. Item 4.2, June 10th, draft sole meeting minutes. Be it resolved that council adopt the June 10th, 2026 council meeting minutes as presented. Could I get a mover, please? Councillor Mondor, seconder. Councillor Feeblecorn. Any errors or omissions? Councillor Hunt.
So I was 5 minutes late getting to the meeting. I'd like to make a comment. We got the email for the meeting at 10:50. I was 5 minutes north of Petersfield. I had called Councillor Feeblecorn, who was, I guess, at home. He was coming here. He stated to the chair that I was 10 minutes away. I don't know how we can pass a state of emergency in 3 minutes, because that's what the minutes reflect 5 minutes, but the audio reflects 3 minutes in order to give the explanation of a state of emergency. But I did come in late, and I'm hoping in the future that if someone gives a message that they're going to be five minutes late, that it's held up for them. We wait all the time for certain people in council meetings. We're 5 or 10 minutes late if we're waiting for somebody. So, I was there. I got there 5 minutes late, as I had stated. So the meeting was already over. So.
Well, I
Thank you.
apologize, but I was advised it was an emergency, as you know.
Oh, I know.
Time was of the
Yeah.
essence.
And
We followed the State of Local Emergency Act, and Councillor Mondor was able to phone in. This was all happening so fast because of the emergency situation we were in. You could have phoned it.
I understand that. Yeah, you're right. I could have, but I'm also driving. My laptop was dead because I had no power from midnight that night. So I'm just saying 5 minutes would have been a little bit nice to hold off. And I thank council for passing a state of emergency. It was something we needed to have done and carrying on. But just hoping in the future when I don't expect someone to wait if they don't have the information that that person coming or not. But and I know Councillor Feeblecorn said in an email I sent out that he mentioned that I will be 5 minutes late. So I just hope in the future we can respect people that are late if it's given a reason. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for comments. All those in favor? Unanimous, that's carried. Yes, Councillor Mondor. Did Councillor Beagle second. 4.3, June 10th, draft special meeting minutes. Be it resolved that council adopt the June 10th, 2026 special meeting minutes as presented. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Doornbos, seconder. Councillor Mondor, any errors or omissions? All those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. Reception of delegations. On our tax impact meeting, Ed Kolodziej is here from the Property Assessment Services on Zoom. Welcome, Ed. And again, apologies you were missed at the last meeting. So glad you're here today.
I'm glad to be here. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, well, the reason we have these tax impact meetings is because we are required by legislation to have province-wide reassessments every 2 years. And what we do is we revalue every property in Manitoba as if it sold on April 1st, 2025, and we send out assessment notices to all property owners showing them the value as of that date. And our last reassessment was based on an April 1st, 2023 estimate of market value. So our reassessment is showing the change in value over a 2-year time frame. And the way we arrive at that value is by reviewing all properties that have sold in the RM of St. Andrews. So I can share that between April 1st, 2023 and April 1st, 2025, there were 551 properties that sold in the RM of St. Andrews. And what we do is we go through a sales verification process where we try to determine which sales are valid sales. And by valid, I mean a willing buyer to a willing seller. And we look at properties that sold that can be invalid sales. So that could be a sale between relatives, which is what most of the invalid sales are. But sometimes you have extremely motivated sellers or extremely motivated buyers that either pay too little or too much for a property, and those are also eliminated from our sales analysis. So we started off with 551 sales, and in the end, we used 355 sales to determine the assessments for the 7,000 plus properties located in St. Andrews. Some of the highlights of those sales, there were $8 million plus sales. Interesting to note that the highest sale in St. Andrews was a farm sale. It involved 11 different parcels of land, and it sold for $7.774 million. So that was a pretty substantial sale. We also had 5 residential sales in excess of $1 million, the highest of which sold for $1.55 million. So again, some pretty healthy sales on the residential component as well. So what we do is we take all those sales and then we analyze the different neighborhoods and locations in St. Andrews. And within St. Andrews, we have created 25 different neighborhoods where we set our sales. So for example, if you're up in Petersfield, we're not comparing you to someone in South St. Andrews on River Road, for example. And so we tried to compare apples to apples as much as possible, although it's very rare that you would find 2 identical properties in a rural municipality like St. Andrews. So how that impacts the assessments, I won't go through all of the report, and I presume you all have copies of the tax impact report there with you. Page 2 of the report outlines the changes of assessment as a result of the reassessment. So provincially, the average assessment is increasing by about 11%. And in the case of St. Andrews, your average assessment is increasing by 7%. And we break that down in terms of property classification. So there's a table towards the bottom of the page And the biggest component of your tax base is single family residential. And that makes up about 78% of the tax base of St. Andrews. And that portion is increasing by about 5.4%. That doesn't mean that every single residential property is seeing an increase of 5.4%. What that references is if you took all of the residential properties in St. Andrews and added up their values, on average, the average property is going up about 5.4% in assessed value. The farm component in St. Andrews is seeing the largest increase in assessment, and that's coming in at a 16.9% increase in assessment. And so that's just a reflection of the demand for farmland. And we've noticed a trend not only in St. Andrews, but throughout most pockets of the province where farmland continues to sell for more and more money. And what we often hear is it's sort of a tongue-in-cheek comment, but buy land, they're not making more of it. It's there's a limited supply, and the sales have reflected a strong demand there. We also saw a fairly good increase with the commercial properties. Again, the average assessment increase there is about 13.5%, and institutional property just under 13%. But those portions of your tax base are a small percentage of the overall assessment pie in St. Andrews. So when we look at your overall increase and you take all your property classes, the average increase is about 7.4%. So often the question is asked, well, how does that impact my tax bill? And that's answered on page 4 of the report. So flipping over to page 4, what we try to do is we try to create a scenario, and this scenario assumes inflation does not exist. And the reason for that is we know what the budget for the RM and the school division was in 2026, but what we don't know is what your budget is for 2027. So we presume that the dollars spent would be almost identical, and then we make projections based on those figures. So on the page 2, it showed the average single family residential assessment was increasing 5.4%. And in that perfect world scenario where inflation doesn't exist, that property owner would see a 1.7% reduction in their taxes. That doesn't factor inflation. So realistically, you would see an increase, but that, of course, depends on the budget process, both from the RM and the local school divisions. If we're looking at tax impacts, the tax impacts overall are fairly flat, except on the farm side, where the average farm assessment that's increasing about 16.9%, that person would see an 8.6% increase on their taxes, plus you would need to adjust for inflation on top of that. So those property owners would likely feel a bit of an increase with this reassessment reflected. At the bottom of page 4, we have a pie chart, and this is projecting the number of property owners that will see tax increases and tax decreases, again, assuming that no inflation environment. And we're showing just over half of owners will see a tax decrease, but I would project that the number of people seeing decreases will be less than 51% based on these reassessment figures. Are there any questions so far?
Council members, does anybody have any questions? I have a question. Could you explain
Sure.
again? So when you said the ag lands are, let's see, high agricultural sales. So then you gave us million for the house sales. So how does the does the agricultural sale that high affect residential homes?
So what we're trying to determine is we revalue all types of properties, and different types of properties change in value at different rates. This wasn't the only farm sale, the one that I shared with you. I just use that as an example of just how strong the farm sales were in that period from 2023 to 2025. And there were other sales that also reflected that trend. And what we see is that farm property is going up in value faster than residential property.
Oh.
And that's why you see a bigger overall percentage increase with farm assessments compared to single family residential.
Oh, okay, thank you. Councillor Ryan?
And just a comment on farmland, you're gonna see a huge increase probably coming April 2027, because this last 2 years, farm prices have gone. It'll be higher, I bet you it'll be close to 30% increase in farm prices on the next assessment.
Yeah.
Because of what land has been set up for.
Yeah, and we've had some other municipalities across the province that had larger farm increases than the 16% over the last 2 years. So it's, but we try to base it on on a municipality by municipality basis. So we don't want to compare St. Andrews, say, to the arm of Portage, for example. They're totally different marketplaces, and so we're looking at the sales in the local community when we set these values.
So when saying that, we have farmers saying that, they need more infrastructure help from the municipality because of the increase in prices of land, because they are paying more taxes on the land. So in retrospect, they should be getting more service. Yeah. So, okay, thank you.
Yep. So if there's no other questions, I'll move on to page 6. And on page 6, we make projections, but we take the school division out of the equation and we look only at the municipal portion. So if we take that same average single family residential property, seeing that 5.4% assessment increase, again, with a no inflation environment, you would see that property owner seeing a 1.8% tax decrease. And again, realistically, you need to add inflation on top of that to get a realistic projection of what the tax change would be. And again, you see the tax impacts are relatively flat, except on the farm, seeing a larger increase. And there's also, I shouldn't fail to mention, the commercial is also seeing a bit of an upward increase as well. So, but most of the property owners in St. Andrews would fall under the residential class in St. Andrews. So, there are certain programs in place, and they're covered on page 7 of the report. There are some changes to the homeowners affordability tax credit next year. The HATC credit replaced the school tax rebate checks a couple years ago. I know a lot of people liked getting those checks, and they equaled 50% of the school taxes on a property, but that was phased out with the change in government and was replaced by this credit program where the credit applies to your primary residence only. Last year, that credit was $1,500. This year, it was increased up to $1,600. And next year, it'll be increased to $1,700. There are 56 property owners that have residential assessments in excess of $1 million that next year will start to see that $1,700 credit phased out. And it'll be phased out at a rate of $3.40 per $1,000 of assessment. And the cap will go from 1 million to 1.5 million. So the owner at assessed for $1.5 million would get zero of that $1,700 HATC credit starting next year. And as I mentioned, 56 property owners in St. Andrews have residential assessments in excess of $1 million. And those are people that will likely call our office, but they may call members of council as well. And that would be why. It's a change in policy from the provincial level. The other tax credits remain in place: the renter's affordability tax credit, the senior school tax rebate, the farmland school tax rebate, and the school tax rebate on farm properties. Those all remain unchanged for next year. Now, we've had these reassessment notices out for about 3 weeks, and to date, we've only received about less than a dozen calls to our office with people calling with concerns about their reassessments, although I understand a lot of people are dealing with other issues, particularly flooding, and my heart goes out to all those property owners that are dealing with that. We also had our assessment open house took place already for the St. Andrews area, but property owners are more than welcome to email our office. They can call our office, and our staff are more than happy to discuss their assessments with them. If anyone, and so what I would suggest is if anyone is not happy with their assessment, that they call us, and they roughly have until September 11th to call our office. After that date, our assessment roll is closed. And the only way for us to make an amendment to the assessment is to go through the appeal process. The appeal process in St. Andrews will be on November 3rd. That's the deadline to file an assessment appeal. The actual Board of Revision hearing is November 19th. Typically, when property owners do file assessment appeals, we do try to meet with everyone. We're not perfect. If we've made a mistake, we'll correct it. But at the same time, if we review a property and we feel that the value is there and we have the sales to defend it, we would defend it. So we handle each call to our office on a call by call basis and try to treat everyone fairly and with respect. I just thought I'd share a couple other numbers that council may find of interest. So the average residential assessed value in St. Andrews is $455,800. So that exactly half of properties are assessed above that value and half are assessed below. That doesn't include farmland. That's just the residential portion. Also, I'd like to share that the assessment branch completed just over 1,000 inspections in the RM of St. Andrews last year. And we also generated 236 supplemental notices. And so supplemental notices are generated whenever there is, say, new construction. So we're adding a new farm building or a new home onto the tax roll or a new commercial property, or if there's a split in land where someone subdivides their land, that generates a supplemental notice as well. We also issue supplemental reductions, say if there's a fire or a building is destroyed as well. So our staff are constantly out in the field, inspecting properties, updating the assessment roll. And again, if anyone has any concerns about their assessments, I ask that they call us and we'll try to look after them.
Okay, great.
So that's my report. Any more questions?
Councillor Hine?
What is designate recreational? What classification is that?
That would be referring to golf courses.
Okay. So years ago, you had a classification seasonal residential, which was cabins along our waterways and that was a separate classification that, because those homes sell different prices or different, you have years where recreation, we had it after COVID there where people spent their money on recreational properties rather than other things, right? So, but there used to be a classification for that. Why did they drop that?
So we haven't changed the classification, but we do look at construction. So for example, if a structure is built as a seasonal building, and so many older cottages are very seasonal in that they don't have year-round heat or water, that sort of thing. We assess those as seasonal structures. Whereas nowadays, most new cottages are basically built like homes. They have permanent foundations in most cases. Often they'll have a proper ducting, insulation, etc. But we definitely do make adjustments based on quality of construction.
Okay, thank you.
Council members, any other questions for Mr. Kolodziej? Okay, no, thank you, Ed.
Okay,
Great
thank you.
presentation.
Thank
I
you
just
very
have one
much.
more comment.
One moment.
And thank you for, like, I think last year, I think there was only 3 people or I don't think you even had any board of revisions last year.
Yeah.
Come to the hearing, so thank you to you and your staff, because they always do a good job negotiating with the people, I guess, and so when you guys change it, it doesn't come to us then.
Yeah, well, and I have some more information on that as well. So over the last 7 years, we've averaged about 17 appeals a year. And we've had years where we've had as few as 4, and some years as many as 32. But in most cases, when someone appeals their assessment, it doesn't actually make it to the Board of Revision. Either we enter into agreement with property owners, or often sometimes appeals are withdrawn. So we try to be fair. We're kind of like refs. Not everyone likes the ref's call, but that's we just try to treat everyone fairly.
But just a comment on that too, because years ago, you used to reassess every 4 years. And then when you went to 2 years, it made it a lot less surprising for people. That's when we had lots of appeals, was when it went 4 years on your, you know. And we had a 3-year run there when we had COVID. It went from 20 to 23 there. So that's why we're at odd years now, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate Councillor Hunt's knowledge. You've been reading the reports.
Well, around that long, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ed.
All right, thank you.
Next item 6, manager reports. Thanks again to management for all your reports. Does council have any questions on the combined monthly management reports? Councillor Doornbos?
The only thing that was brought to my attention, and everyone else got the email too, from a resident regarding the PUB board and the, I'll read it here in a second.
When did you, I haven't gotten anything.
Asked for an extension to the PUB deadline to submit the deficit recovery. Maybe it's a little bit early, it came in late this afternoon.
Oh, I was here so busy, I haven't looked at, and the email came in today?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And about the plan, and I noticed that it was already in the report from Carrie too. I didn't read there, so just had a question about it. There's no answer for it because of the it came in so late, then push it over.
That was my question to, does anybody know, I asked this, but Carrie's not here on finance. On the deficit, we require a deficit recovery plan, which will be coming to council with a plan. Because we're in reach of the deadline. An extension was requested to November 2026. Does anybody here from admin know if UB granted the request?
I think they granted, like, I'm not sure what you're asking.
Let's say the PUB has requested a deficit recovery plan and the proper setup of reserve accounts for the utilities. They asked for a response by May 31st. We are in brief family order and have requested an extension to November 2026. We released the order of consultant to manage the request to the PUB.
We haven't heard back from them since we corresponded with them at that period. They sent something to us and had a deadline of May 31st. It went to junk mail. They didn't contact us with a letter or anything, and we responded shortly after that, and we did a request to them. So we're waiting for that, and we're prepared to move forward. To go in front of the PUB, it takes about a year to get a board.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're looking.
Yeah, so I knew it came in late, so I didn't know whether anyone knew anything about it. I saw a lot of reports, I figured I'd ask.
Yeah, I didn't see. Okay, any other questions on the bylaw report? Okay, Next, we have council reports. Thank you all for following reports. Did anybody have any questions on the reports? Okay, bylaws and policies, 8.1, St. Andrew zoning bylaw, 4438 for first reading. Be resolved, we'll put it on the table. Okay, be resolved that council give first reading to bylaw 4438, being a bylaw to regulate and control the use and development of land and buildings within the municipal limits of the RM of St. Andrews. Could I get a mover, please? Councillor Doornbos, seconder, Deputy Mayor Marecki. Okay. Santan is here from, we're planning to give presentation. Yeah, well, we have your report inside, but.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Council. I don't have a formal presentation, but I can talk about the procedure. So the RM of St. Andrews has made a formal application for the new zoning bylaw. This is the first reading. Should the council give it a first reading, that will start the statutory process. It would involve us circulating it to provincial agencies. RM will get a copy too. You will be given a formal chance to comment on it. So if there's any modifications, changes that will be requested, that would be during the commenting period. Following that, there will be a public hearing. WSP is the consultant that the RM hired. They will be making a presentation at the public hearing, following which we'll see how that proceeds and it'll go to formal adoption or not.
So basically, this is first reading to get it on the table.
To get it on the table and get the process started.
Second reading.
Yes.
So council members, do you have any questions?
No, other than that, I want some additions, but. Not for this.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, well, thank you, and thank you for your report that was attached.
Yeah.
So all those in favor? Those opposed? That is carried. Thank you.
Thanks, Council.
Next item, 8.2. Be it resolved that council gives second reading to bylaw number 4426, being a bylaw to provide for the expenditure and borrowing of funds for the purpose of purchasing a John Deere 870 GP grader. Could I get a mover, please? Councillor Doornbos, second one. Councillor Feeblecorn. Any comments or questions? And then did everyone speak? Is there anything to speak to this? I think we.
No, we brought it to budget. And
Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried.
This was from last year's budget though, correct? This is from last year's budget, not from this year's budget.
Well, weren't we doing, this is for a borrowing bylaw?
Yeah, but we bought it under last year's budget though.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't order no budget.
No,
more
no,
graders.
so this is from last year's budget, so.
Yeah.
This is the bylaw coming forward now.
Okay, this is for third reading, it'll be a recorded vote. Be it resolved that council gives third reading to bylaw number 4426, being a bylaw to provide for the expenditure and borrowing of funds for the purpose of purchasing a John Deere 870 GP grader. Could I get a mover, please? Councillor Doornbos, seconder. Councillor Mondor. All those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. Approval of accounts. Be it resolved that council approved the June 19th, 2026 check detail report as presented. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Feeblecorn, seconder. Councillor Mondor, any comments or questions? All those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. Correspondence for action. Lower Fort Garry request name change. Whereas Parks Canada has advised the service road located along the Lower Fort Garry National Historic Site is currently identified as Lower Fort Garry Road. And whereas Parks Canada has requested to rename the road Treaty Way in recognition of the historic significance of the Treaty 1 negotiations at Lower Fort Garry more than 150 years ago. Therefore, be it resolved that Council of the RM of St. Andrews has no objection to the proposal to rename Lower Fort Garry Road to Treaty Road. Could I get a mover, please? Councillor Doornbos, seconder, Councillor Mondor, any comments or concerns? Councillor Slyker?
Is this the road that goes behind, River Road or,
No, it's on their property.
yeah, like to the machine shop area, is that what I'm thinking of?
Off of File Crescent.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, that's.
it goes where Public Works building is
Okay,
behind
that's what
there.
I thought.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Unanimous, that's carried. East Interlake Candy Van. Be it resolved that Deputy Mayor Marecki had attended the Eastern Interlake Candy Van Inc. AGM on June 16th in Gilman. Could I get a mover, please? Councillor Slyker, seconder. Councillor Hunt. All those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. Be it resolved that Mayor Sewell attended the Manitoba Métis Federation National Indigenous Peoples Day on June 21st at Selkirk Park. Could I get a motion, please? Councillor Doornbos, seconder. Deputy Mayor Marecki, all those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. Triple S Fair and Rodeo sponsorship. Be it resolved that council authorize sponsorship in the amount of $2,000 to the Triple S Fair and Rodeo being held July 10th to the 12th, 2026 in Selkirk. Could I get a mover, please? Councillor Peoplecorn, seconder. This was in our budget. Deputy Mayor Marecki. Yes, this was a lot for in our budget. All those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried.
Mayor, so who's 10.3, and then,
Yeah, I did that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I attended that.
Yes.
I gave broad greetings on behalf of council. There was like thousands there this year.
That's good.
It was awesome. Okay, all the Triple S financial attached correspondence for information. Does anybody have any comments on the attached? I'll be sending a letter to Reeve Schinkel from Lactaponi. That was just such a wonderful letter he sent, sharing about our emergency. Old unfinished business, landfill tipping fee review 2026. Okay, I don't have a resolution. There's an attachment on there. The background and the cost. I believe Councillor Peoplecorn, you would want this brought forward. Here, would you like to speak to the part?
Yeah, so I've had a couple residents over the past year or so reach out to me. Just in regards to the tipping fee that's collected for burnable materials. One resident had some deliveries to their property and that came on pallets, and they didn't want to burn the pallets in their burn pit because of the nails, and they just wanted to take them to the landfill to get to burn them. And were charged the $20, and they just felt that it was unreasonable. Another resident had a cabinet in their house that they were removing, and they broke it up and were charged the $20 for demolition material. And it just seems that there's some inconsistencies with what is being charged for residential burnable material, especially something that's in the back of a pickup truck or a small utility trailer. So it was just something that I wanted to see if there was some clarification on. I don't think there's as much or really a cost for us to burn that material. And just thinking that there was something we could clarify in that.
Yeah, it seems odd that they're charging you for a pallet, or charged for a pallet, it's just wood. And I know at Earl Grey, there's just that massive wood burning area, and they're just piles everything, desks, everything in there. So I find it really odd that I'm going to charge a tipping fee for just burnable wood.
See, I think Earl Grey would be the same because they're at the same bylaw.
Yeah.
They have the same charges that both are out. I don't know.
Yeah,
There has been concern in the past, because people, I think you can take branches and all of that, that doesn't cost you anything for burning.
Yeah, I just don't know that when I look at the tipping fee schedule, it just says, renovation material, whether it's residential or commercial, it's a chargeable tipping fee. But, when it comes to pallets or, a piece of furniture that is just, 99% wood and it's just being burnt anyway, I just wasn't sure if there was something we could clarify in our tipping fee schedule in regards to that type of material. That's just simply going to the burn pile.
I think your key word is inconsistencies. I think Earl Grey has more consistent. They come out and look at stuff and look at stuff, and see what's in the truck and that, whereas. But I think it's the inconsistency, because I've had the same issues with people making comments about. I got charged just one time, I didn't another time, because they have a whole place of pallets there that people put pallets, and then. For people to take a pallet home and do something with it, whatever.
And I don't wanna, I wanna discourage people from dumping in the ditch or, on a back road or something like that.
And that's what happens.
With that type of material. So yeah, I don't know if that's something maybe we could discuss with, Peter and maybe come up with, maybe some clarifying wording in terms of that type of material that's being brought in. I mean, other than like, I'm not looking to change, the costs and the prices and all that. It was just, my concern was residents being charged when, inconsistencies and I don't think there should be a charge for that type of material. Just my, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that, because I've had people over the years say, well, they throw just boards underneath on top of a bunch of branches, then they don't have to pay. But how do you police that? That would be someone taking the upholstery off a couch and saying, here's a wood frame. Well, if they throw in the ditch, I don't know.
So in the report, it says waiving fees creates a structural funding gap that is not sustainable. But people pay taxes, that's what people pay taxes for, is for certain issues, and the landfill is like one of them. It's not a cost recovery, it's not. So.
Well, the higher your deficit will go, the more people will have to pay taxes to cover that.
But $20 or $20 here or $15 here, I know adds up to it, but as far as even the recycling of the couches, it costs the RM money to do the right thing. As you made the comment about, I think it costs us $25 a mattress and a couch, and we only charge $15. So it costs us $10 for doing the right thing, but if we charge 25, where we're gonna be finding them on the sides of the roads and that, and then we get nothing for it. So at least we're getting something for them and doing the right thing.
Yeah, I don't know, unless Peter can see how they're more consistent, but right now we have a deficit of $271,213 a year.
Both landfills combined.
Yeah.
But there's custodians in there and everything else. There's a cost of running stuff, and that's what people pay taxes for. So.
The wages are almost 3/4 of that deficit.
So I don't know.
As long as everybody has
We're tendering out the landfills. Like that tender is coming, is being put out. So maybe when that happens and when, if we get new operators in or the current are successful, I think at that point we'll review the fees and publish it and make sure that it's being done properly.
In regards to the schedule that's listed on our website, is there maybe some wording that we could put in terms of what would be considered or classified under demolition material versus?
Yeah, I think we need some definitions
Yeah.
and consistencies.
Yes.
I think that the whole matters is like Council said, tonight, if it's consistent, it seems more fair than one's doing one thing, the other's doing another thing, where you come one day and it's one charge and the next time the charges change.
Okay, thank you.
There should be no charges for burnable items, as in leaves and branches, or a pallet is the same thing. Pallet comes from a tree, it's a refined process, so there should be no charges for burning whatsoever on it, because it's burnt and pushed up into a pile and.
Yeah, it's just, I was just asking, we could just, have that looked at.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, under new business, change order number 1, water well drilling. Whereas the existing well at Bliss Road Recreation Site was inspected by administration, the contractor and the contractor's irrigation subcontractor, and was determined to be inadequate to support the irrigation requirements of the municipality's new soccer fields. And whereas the existing well already supports the irrigation needs of the adjacent field operated by AK Soccer Academy, and would create capacity and scheduling conflicts if relied upon for both operations. And whereas the installation of a separate municipal well is required to provide dedicated irrigation capacity for the municipality soccer fields. Therefore, be it resolved that council approve change order number 1 from Lacoste Landscaping and Construction for the supply and installation of a new well at Bliss Road Rec Site in the amount of $25,525 plus a 15% contingency plus GST for a total of $30,821.44. Further be it resolved that the approved change order be funded from the 2026 capital budget allocated for the municipal soccer fields. And further be it resolved that administration be authorized to execute the change order and proceed with the required work. Could I get a mover, please? Councillor Doornbos, seconder. Councillor Feeblecorn. Is there any questions? Councillor Slyker?
Okay, I understand what this is all about, but I brought into the CAO and planning that, we've got to my attention a month or so ago that we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on a baseball field, diamond. It has no water access for it. That was never taken into account when it was developed. Taxpayers have brought that to my attention. So I had asked, since we have a well company on site to do this, which I'm all for, why we wouldn't move it over a few feet and take the money from the recreation reserve and add a well for the baseball diamond at the same time, since they're here. And we can't really maintain a nice baseball diamond that we are promoting without any kind of water access. And I don't know how that got over. I know that the baseball diamond was something that our council inherited from the previous council and the airport board. It never crossed my mind that we would do that and not have a water source to water the diamond. But I don't see, I had a great conversation with the planner and the CAO, but I don't see anything in regards to any of that. So I'd like to ask council, why wouldn't we take the time to also do one at the baseball field, since we have the company right there on site? I understand we have to borrow money because it's not in a budget item, I get that. But we've put hundreds of thousands of dollars into this baseball diamond. And no one put any water service to it.
This is the first I heard of it. Is there any comment by?
No, we're dealing with the soccer fields thing.
Yeah.
But why would we not do both together?
I don't think that there's any, when I discussed it with the drilling company, they said there would be no savings on doing.
Well, there would have to be travel time saved, because they're right here. Like, they're already on the property.
But no, it's two different properties. They're not near each other. They still would be doing, you're still gonna be traveling, like, there's one well company.
So in other words, my request, you didn't really go anywhere with it. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's a separate thing.
But I asked to bring it together.
Councillor Slyker, you're not allowing the CAO to answer the question.
Well, you determined there's a cost savings to do them both at the same time. when I called the drilling company, I said, if we did them both at the same time, would there be savings? They said, no, there wouldn't.
Okay, so cost savings or no cost savings, we still need it. So why wouldn't we
But
do
we're,
them both
we're,
at the
dealing-
same
we're dealing
time?
with AK soccer, site and our site today. We're not dealing with the baseball diamond today.
But it still doesn't answer my question. I apologize.
Okay,
We need two wells.
yes,
So why wouldn't we do them both at the same time? Cost saving or no cost saving, why would we not do them both at the same time?
because we're dealing with the soccer field that has some money, that it's within the budget. It's come to council because in the
original resolution.
the original resolution, we said if we needed to drill a well. So, yeah, we're looking at the baseball diamond, we're going to do there. You know, for now, we're bringing potable water there and it's, you know, the field's doing good. But yeah, we need a source there, you're right.
Okay, long taxpayers heard that.
So that'll come to council later in the year, potentially or next year with a budget item of a cost and a quote.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any further comments or questions? All those in favor? All those opposed? Hearing none. That's unanimous, it carries. 13.2 RFD subdivision S162681. Whereas the development agreement and associated drainage plan for subdivision file number S162681 identified required drainage works for the development. And whereas the approved drainage plan identified that the existing natural waterway within Lot 4, Plan 62750, Winnipeg Land Titles 620 Lot 4 Road, was to remain unaltered, but waterway was subsequently affected by excavation and improper backfilling by the landowner. And whereas the municipality supports the completion and remediation of drainage works in accordance with the approved drainage plan within the registered development agreement on title. And whereas the proposed works are considered to be remedial drainage work required under the approved drainage plan and not new development or discretionary alterations requiring a site development permit or planning approval from Red River Planning District. Therefore, be it resolved that council authorizes Christopher John Bird to undertake the necessary drainage remediation works in accordance with the approved drainage plan for subdivision file S162681, subject to review, inspection, and approval by administration. Could I get a mover, please? Deputy Mayor Marecki, seconded by Councillor Doornbos. Any questions or does admin speak to this?
I can comment on this. This is a previous subdivision, the adjacent landowner there, in your aerial imagery there, 624 had utilized, they're the owner of both. They had utilized fill from that natural swale to build up their dwelling there and then had backfilled with improper materials, a mix of concrete, debris. Christopher Burke, I've spoken to, Public Works Manager, has spoken with and has made arrangements with the property owner to remediate that drainage portion. You can see in the aerial imagery that pond, that's the area that would require remediation to allow for proper fill to be placed and then allow drainage towards Lockport Road. This should improve drainage in the area. I do know we do get a few concerns there every year.
And this is at the expense of the owner, the one that did the.
No expense to the RM. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Any further comments by council? Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. Selkirk Weed Control. Whereas the Selkirk Weed Control District has provided the necessary public notice in the Selkirk record to enter onto land to control and destroy weeds without notice as required in the Noxious Weed Act of Manitoba. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Arm of St. Andrews authorize the Selkirk Weed Control District to coordinate the control of weeds under section 20(1) of the Noxious Weed Act of Manitoba for the vacant properties located in the St. Andrews Industrial Business Park. Could I get a mover, please? Councillor Mondor, seconded by Councillor Slyker. Any comments or questions by council? All in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. New hire North Fire Hall. Be it resolved that council authorize the hiring of Royton DeSouza as a member of the North Fire Hall. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Slyker, seconder. Councillor Feeblecorn. Any questions, comments? All those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. Item 13.5. Okay, council, we have a notice. West St. Paul, there's a notice of public hearing regarding the arm of West St. Paul withdrawing from the Red River Planning District. This is going to be held on Monday, July 13th at the council chambers located at their office at 3550 Main Street, West St. Paul. It is a public hearing to receive representations, questions, register support or objection from them withdrawing from RRPD. I assume this notice will be in the paper, everything else. So Lisa you've got the bigger resolution?
Yeah.
For those that would like to attend.
Be it resolved that the following council members be authorized to attend the public hearing regarding West St. Paul withdrawal from the Red River Planning District, which is being held on July 13th, 2026 at 6 p.m. in West St. Paul.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
I would like to attend to speak on behalf of the RM and as a member of Red River Planning.
Perfect, thank you. Could I get a mover, please? Councillor Mondor. Seconder. Councillor Doornbos. Okay, any comment? Oh, who would, okay, that's a mover and seconder. Who else would like to listen? Well, no. Are you able to?
I'd like to attend it.
Okay, all members of council are attending in the CAO. Braden, are you attending this as well?
Braden should.
Likely will attend,
Should
yeah.
be as planner.
I've talked to the CAO at St. Clements. We're going to have a joint message or a similar message.
Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. Item 15.6, that was in addition. Okay. Recognition of Constable Paul Human upon his retirement from the RCMP. Whereas Constable Human has devoted more than 25 years of distinguished service to the RCMP, serving the people of Manitoba with dedication, professionalism, integrity, and compassion. And whereas throughout his career, he has demonstrated a deep commitment to community policing and public service, recognizing that effective policing is built upon communication, education, trust, and meaningful relationships within the community. And whereas Constable Human has been a dedicated champion for youth throughout his career, fostering positive relationships, promoting education and safety, and serving as a trusted mentor and role model for young people within the communities he has served. And whereas Constable Human has been a strong advocate for volunteerism, lifelong learning, and community involvement, consistently encouraging others to serve their communities and build connections with people from all walks of life. And whereas residents of the Arm of St. Andrews have benefited greatly from Constable Human's leadership, dedication, accessibility, and genuine commitment to making our community safer, stronger, and more connected. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Arm of St. Andrews hereby expresses its sincere gratitude and appreciation to Constable Human for his exceptional service to the residents of St. Andrews and for the positive and lasting impact he has made through his commitment to community policing and public engagement. And be it further resolved that Council congratulates Constable Human on his retirement from the RCMP and extends its best wishes to him and his family for continued health, happiness, and fulfillment as he embarks on the next chapter of service and leadership in the community. Could I get a mover, please? Councillor Doornbos, seconder, Councillor Mondor. Any further comments? There is a come and go for him. It's at the Selkirk Legion on Sunday. I have another thing, but I'm just gonna drop it right at 12:30 to 3 o'clock, I think. It's on Sunday, June 28th.
This week.
Madam Mayor, should we put our resolution in a frame?
I was just gonna suggest that with the steel, with everything else.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of frames at home, Lisa, if you don't have frames, okay? Okay, so Councillor Doornbos, Councillor Mondor, all those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. 13.7, whereas the Council of the Arm of St. Andrews declared a state of local emergency on June 10th, 2026 for a period of 14 days. And whereas the state of local emergency is scheduled to expire on June 24th, 2026 unless otherwise extended. And whereas the municipality has determined that no further emergency resources are required in relation to this emergency event. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Arm of St. Andrews allow the state of local emergency to expire on June 24th, 2026 for the entire municipality. Could I get a mover, please? Councillor Hunt, seconder. Councillor Feeblecorn. Any further comments?
So I just have a question maybe of the CEO. So when we passed the first local state of emergency, but I think it's for all of the municipality, correct?
Yes,
Okay,
No,
because,
it was just for the area from,
from Selkirk to,
from Clannis Road north to Matlock.
okay, that's the problem then, because there is damage west of number 8 highway. And we had said east of number 8 highway to the eastern boundary. But I thought I read one place where it was a municipal wide state of emergency. Because will that become issues?
Lisa,
If I recall, it was for the entire municipality, the state of local emergency.
Okay,
But as far as the powers to order, that was contained to the area over there.
okay, that's okay then, as long as the state of local emergency still extends west of number 8 highway.
yeah, but applying for disaster funding.
I know,
or
that
for individuals
doesn't affect.
rely on.
I had a comment on that, just, you know, because we have roads damaged, west of number 8 highway as well, so.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. Okay, in camera. Be it resolved that council move in camera at 6:37 p.m. to discuss matters that are in preliminary stages and respecting which discussion in public could prejudice the municipality's ability to carry out its activities or negotiations, as well as legal and personnel issues. And be it further resolved that the members of council have agreed to keep in confidence a matter that is discussed at a meeting that is closed to the public under subsection 152(3), and that the committee decides to keep confidential until the matter is discussed at a meeting of council or of a committee conducted in public. Could I get a mover, please? Councillor Mondor, seconder, Councillor Slyker, all those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. We are in queue. Be it resolved that council move out of in camera at 8:09 p.m. and let the record show Councillor Hunt left the meeting at 8:09. Could I get a mover, please?
I'll move that.
Councillor Slyker, seconder. Councillor Doornbos. All those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. There are no resolutions coming from in camera. Be it resolved that the council meeting be adjourned at 8:10 p.m. Could I get a mover, please?
I'll move that.
Slyker, and seconded by Councillor Deputy Mayor Moretki. All those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried.